I thought I would try testing out a different format or size for some of my videos. This basically is like a region capture, which should be just the region of the main window. And that way, I don't know if I could flip between it. Let me look over here and see. Yeah, I don't think I can actually flip between different regions, but I can drag windows over into that region. Okay, so it's going to be a few weeks here, at least another week or so. I'm gonna say about another week until I can get back to doing some more testing. What I had to do is I had to switch over to development mode. I had to get back into that cycle. And well, I'll show you some of the things I'm working on. I've got so I remember I was talking about a template, which is just basically it's like a framework. It's just a skeletal framework for code. And it literally, in a sense, is this application right here, but incredibly stripped down to where it doesn't. Each application based on its code will only use whatever libraries are required. So it doesn't need every single library loaded. At least not every application does. And I'll show you some examples. So I'm going to bring this over here. So this is kind of like a rewrite of that FOMOD utility that I was working on. It's just a rewrite. And as you can see, it has the same banner, same titles. It has the same structure as this application right here. And the reason that is because it's actually using the libraries, the external dynamic link DLL libraries that the main application uses. So it makes project development. It makes the development time of brand new projects really short. It just decreases that development time. So I won't be able to show you the whole window. It's only going to be a chunk. But if you look over here at let's say this right here. So if you look over here at this, you'll see just a chunk of it. So in a sense, what this is just copy and paste. So if I go over to, let's say, I want to create like a new let me bring this down to where you can see it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see this. Okay. So if I go over here and do like a new, and I create like a new project. At this point, all I have to do is go over to this code, and I can do like an A, and then I can do a C, okay? And then I can just copy all of that code into the next project. And it handles all of the events and everything well, it doesn't handle all of them. It only handles the events that it needs to. And all of that is using the exact same coding that this main program uses. So it uses an event pipe. So in a sense, you could think of Windows messaging as an event pipe. So, events are generated from certain actions that the user takes. That's put in a message that generates a message, and then that message is queued to that application, and that application has to access those messages and then process them accordingly. So in a sense, I read those messages in a library, and then I reformat them into a message or a queue. It's like a function structure. So I reformat that into a different way. I put that Windows message into a different format, and then I process those function formats in a queue. And that allows me to stack things on top in order of processing. So it won't be what message gets there first, it's going to be order of processing. So I literally, if I want to freeze processing, I can literally freeze the queue. There's a function I can go in and say, I want to freeze the queue. I want to filter out certain types of functions. So let's say that, or I want to queue up, I want to put on hold. So I want to shift from processing certain functions in the main pipeline, the main queue pipeline. I'm going to put those in a temporary. So they're stacked over temporary, and then I can move that entire block over when I want. So it gives me a little bit better ability to manipulate the order of processing and things that are going to be processed. And things that are going to be processed are defined as a function code. And then those function codes will then call library routines. It'll call different libraries. And that's what this is right here. So to kind of show you this, that's what this is. So in a sense, it's just a form. It's all it is. It's a form. It has it can contain, like if you go into the forms designer, it could contain, like over here, if you want to look at the forms designer, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but you can, let me pull this down. So you can actually go over here to the design, and there's the design of the form. And as you can see, there's the form, and the only two controls it has is a label for description, and then it has a text box, which is going to be the description of whatever the installation step is going to be. And that's specific to that application. So this label right here and this are the only things in the form. Everything else is placed by the application. And this gives me more control over, I can pass control of the events and everything, how it's rendered, the rendering of the control, like the drawing of images, I can pass that to a library rather than letting Windows do it. If I want Windows to do it, then I would just literally, in the designer, create the control and go from there. But the reason I like doing it this way is this form can take all of the functionality provided by the primary utility library that this main application uses. Because that's, remember I was saying, this whole application here and all the little forms and windows you see, all of that is a front end. It's just a front end to library calls. Now, some of the processing is unique to that, you know, just like with this, some of it's going to be unique. But there are certain features. What I was going to show you is, because it is a framework, there are features that are standard across all applications. So if I was to move this to a different location or resize it, if I was to do this, okay, and then I close it, when I open this back up again, it's going to open in this location and it's going to open in that size, because that's something that's controlled by an external library. Forms and things like that are handled by the external library. And anybody who uses that library can use the same functions. Another function would be that is common across, like the message area here is small. And this is the same message area that you see. Oh, whoops, I don't want to move that. Let me get that back up. Same message over here, except this is rendered differently. That's rendered completely differently. So the code, the new code will actually, the new code for the messaging is going to replace the code in this application here. That's going to get replaced. But the common code lets me do things like this. Oh, menu systems all work because the menu system is controlled, mostly controlled by the framework, and then the function calls for the menu are in libraries. So once I have because this particular application only comes with the source code, it'll come with the executable if you don't want to compile it yourself, and then it comes with the library. The library has its own source code as well. But what I was getting at is you have common functionality. You don't really see any images down here because this is being run from the actual source codes folder. It's the one controlled by Visual Studio. Once this is moved over where the images are, or if I were to put images in that folder, then the images will show up, and that's the same for the icon up here. Which is kind of, yeah, no, that is true. That is the same for the icon. That's kind of interesting because I didn't pay attention. I was thinking, oh, this is not the icon I wanted, but it actually is. But the framework lets me do things like this. The buttons and everything are, the button controls and all that are part of the framework. So it takes very minimal code changes. So this is really hard to see all the messages. But because because it uses the library's menu system and the way that I designed the menu system, almost everything applies. Not everything applies because it makes the code too big. So they're only so if I want to include a feature from the main application in one of these applications, I just copy and paste because the pipe is already there. It handles everything the exact same way. It makes library calls. And if it's going to require, like, let's say the load order library or game library, then I'm going to need to include that DLL as well. But for right now, it's just the main utility library. So if I want to feature another feature, like as an example, so let's say that I want to do a full view. This makes it easier to see the messages. And of course, you can shrink it down. And this holds true for every application because this is what I was working on. It takes about a little over a day to get the layout and do other things as well. But see, this is the exact same way. So the same thing applies here. See, full, and then it goes back to the thing. So that way you can see full messages. And also, because it uses the same libraries and function calls, remember those, that Q pipe. So basically, I'm just saying I want you to do a search, then the same functions work. So the same highlight features work because this is controlled by the external library, not the main application. So this allows this minimizes the amount of development time that's necessary to do things like this. Yeah, but that's what I want to show. This is what I'm going to be working on for the rest of this week and probably next week. These are two applications that I wanted to get the base structures for. I've done that. And oh, and these applications do support drag and drop. So, you can, if you're working on a faux mod, you can drag and drop other faux mods into this window and it'll automatically let you process one right after another. The headers, the theme, the actual theme that you're looking at, because this is not the normal color of this, but this is a theme. This is a Fallout 4 theme, and it's applied because a parameter is passed to it. You can see here, there's a global parameter which says the game. So you can pass a parameter to this application, which in a sense is the name of the theme, is in a sense what that is. I might change that to also be like theme because it'll be the same thing. It'll do the exact same thing. But I put, yeah, I think I'm going to change that. And that's going to be part of the framework. So that's going to be part of how that whole system thing kind of works. I've got 3 more that I have to lay out real quick. And it'll take me about a day to lay each one of them out and to get at least at least get the base functionality. Like here, being able to open and parse. I still got a little bit more processing to do with faux mods before I actually. And again, there's faux mod layouts that I have to be able to handle different layouts and different types of settings. And I'll take a look at that as I go. And I'll kind of tinker around with it. But it does get certain types of information, like like I say, it does get the image and stuff like that. So this is just the base, right? Because none of the actual processing is done, none of the different steps are showing up. This is actually the last step, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of kind of a little bit more pre-processing because the way that I've designed my tag system is based on unique tags. So it's a very, very unique. Everything is unique because I want to randomly access it. I want to access it quickly. Well, the problem is with faux mods, you have tag names. Even though the parameters are different, you have even though the parameters are different, the tag name is the same. So I'm going to have to kind of work a way of taking the same tag name, like let's say type or whatever it is that might be in the tag, and then I'm going to have to give it a temporarily unique name. And then therefore I can randomly access that tag, and then I will need to strip off that extra bit of information. And that way I can literally use the exact same XML library or the same tag library that I've written to let me pull in chunks of data, which is what you see here. Because in here to get the title, I believe it's just simply the tag would be config. If you looked at the actual XML tag, like if you were to look at it, it looks something like this. So see, you can see where it's got, there's your comment. See where it has config, that's the tag name. And then that's the parameters for the tag, if you want to call it parameters. And then see, here's the module name. So there's the module name. So because I'm looking for a unique name. In the case with module name, it should be unique. Module image should be unique. If not, it'll show the last one. But here you can, so in a sense, what I'm going to have to do is I've already expanded this into the format I use. So in a sense, I had to do a little bitty pre-processing step. So in my code, I basically said I need to have an intermediate step to pre-process an XML file. So I break the tags down, and then these actually become parameters. So in effect, what my code does is this. This is what it does. And then it starts the next tag. This is how so this becomes a unique tag name. So this is kind of like how I pre-process it. And it's set up to where it only does that. It only does that if you tell it to. Normally, it just assumes it's because for my configuration files, I really didn't need anything specific, but I need quick ways to access data. I need very, very fast ways to access data. So I literally can say, hey, here's the database tag. Here's a database. This is the tag I want. And you give me the data, and it's really quick. So it was kind of my solution to how can I access data from large files? How can I access tags from very large files absolutely quickly? And this was kind of like the system I developed. So I had to do I had to convert this to a pre-processing step in order to get this in that format. But some of these are going to be the same. So I've got a little bit more to do. But I'm going to put this off for the moment. This is going to get put off because I've got 3 more that I'm going to work on next. And then, these can be, and these are really cool because it means you can really very quickly design a UI application for any kind of data. It's just the same UI app. Any kind of data you want. The button handling is all the same routines. All this is the same. So you just put your custom code in, what buttons you want to do what when you click, but the button events and all that are all captured for you. So there's no need to have custom event, you don't need to have specific events in every single application because that's all handled by the library and by the framework. But that's what I wanted to show you. That's what I've been working on. And this little application here is really simple. For right now, it's incredibly simple. All this thing does is, for right now, is I'm testing libraries. Dynamic link libraries are loaded usually it's loaded from a given directory. When you compile the code, you can specify other directories that you want to search for DLLs in. And that means that the libraries, all these libraries can now be put in their own unique subfolder. So instead of where the application lives, all these DLLs and their associated local files and any files, it doesn't live in that same folder. They're put in their own subfolder. So it helps to organize it better. But one of the things I wanted to test was the ability to actually set a specific location for the dynamic link libraries, for these libraries. Now you could use like I think it's REGSVR. I think it's like Reg server or service or something. You can do something like that, which adds that search path to your system, to your operating system. But I actually do a call that only sets it temporarily. But what I need to know is where the path is to, where these libraries are located. So to do that, I had to use the system registry because that's a very common data point or a data structure in all Windows apps. For Windows operating system, it uses the registry. So in a sense, all this application does is literally just create a registry with the name of the application, the install path, and the version. That is it. So now when I run, and this is all part of this framework, so it's not something you code every time. So so if I start a new application, I copy over the framework, it comes with the framework. So what happens is when it runs, it will try to find that registry key. If it finds it, it now knows where these libraries are located. So that way, in a sense, you can have a standalone application. So the application, for like if you're talking about the libraries, a library doesn't need to be distributed with every single app. And the way that I'm kinda doing it is I'm gonna make them in a package. So, like distribution-wise, they'll be in a package and it'll contain the library. So but the thing is you have multiple copies of the same library, and then you have the problem of, well, you could have multiple libraries in different packages depending on what you install. Right? So if you do it that way, then it's gonna say, "Oh, yeah, I wanna overwrite the library because it's the same," but you've got an older package with an older library because multiple source points for the same file is not really a good idea. But for now, it'll work that way. So now you just grab the package, you install the package in wherever, whatever folder you wanna install it in, and everything that it needs to run is gonna be in that package. Or if you, in a sense, register, and the reason it says unregister is the registry key already exists, and it's asking me if I want to take if I want to remove those registry keys. Um. So, anyways, back to what I'm saying. So, if it finds that registry key, oh, no, yeah. Sorry, my brain is actually in the process of doing something else. God, I thank God I have more coffee. Okay, so what it lets me do is just release the application. And when you run the application, no matter where you run the application from, it will know where to find the libraries that it needs. It'll know where to find them because it's going to use the installed libraries. Therefore, you have a single data point, a single source point for the files. All right. So that kind of shows you what I'm doing here and the logic behind kind of like what I'm going to be working on the rest of this week and into next. So I won't have time to do any SS2 testing. I'm not going to have time to do anything like that because I've got 4 more now that I think about it, which will take about a day a pop, I think. Um, and I think some of them might be useful. So, but yeah, that's kinda like what I've been doing and where I'm at, and that's why you don't see me doing a lot of streaming. I had to kinda I had to put that SS2 streaming on hold because I did automatically start encountering problems, and, but I'll talk about all that stuff later when I have more time and when it's more specific about that. But yeah, just wanted to kinda drop in and kinda show you where I'm at and show you kinda like the direction I'm going, and again, this right here, all of this stuff is framework. The images you see, framework. So, that's all framework. It goes to load a theme, and if you tell it the name of the theme, that's what it loads. That's all in the framework, so it's not something you have to code every time. The banner, all of this stuff, the home button, the menu system, that's all framework. So, this will all be kinda common, and each program has its own menu file. So, menus are unique to that program. Alright, well, I'm gonna go ahead and, cut this video short and, get started. So, yeah, everybody, I hope everybody has a great day, great week, awesome month. It is Halloween coming up, so, too bad trick-or-treating was ruined. I remember it was so funny. God, as a kid, I love the colors, just all the bright, vivid colors. That because my dad was an artist and that kinda ran in my family, so it's like, wow, I love the colors and the creativity and just the possibility of something that is so different from us as people. It almost borderline in the realm of magic. But that's coming up, and too bad all that's kinda gone. But yeah, hope everybody has a good month, and I will post another video back when, as I progress.